thriller in Columbia, South Carolina that goes down to the final seconds. Woo! This is why we love it. Hey, I got a question for y'all. Is Georgia as good as we thought they were? It looked a little shaky the other day. And as a Georgia fan, that made me uncomfortable. But it looked like something we've seen before. Does Texas have 2 starting quarterbacks on their team? I've seen that floating around. Is that true? I don't know. We might have to talk about that one. And Miami is the best team in the state of Florida, and it's not even close, dare I say. Yes, I do dare, because it's true. And guess what? It's CFB with Ziggy. Tuesday. Yes, we're recapping week 3 on Tuesday. Don't trip. Let me get my schedule right. Let me do me. Y'all just stay tuned in. I'm going to bring it either way. Let me get right. Let me get that ball rolling. You feel me? Speaking of rolling, we're getting straight to it right here, right now. Let's get it. LSU wins a thriller against South Carolina, 36-33. Man, that game was crazy. College game day in the building. You got Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit on the call, so you know it's one of them ones. And they delivered. Now, I don't really rock with South Carolina like that as a Georgia fan, but I can't lie. The fans brought it, and so did the team. They brought that energy, they brought that juice, and that's just what the team needed. Because South Carolina, they jumped out 17-0 on LSU to start the game. I'm talking about, for LSU, everything that could go wrong did go wrong. They couldn't get no momentum. South Carolina had it all. South Carolina was on a mission, boy. Every big play was juiced up by the crowd. South Carolina's quarterback, Lenore Sellers, continues to go to work. And he switched it up on y'all. He usually be rocking them goggles. He said, hold on real quick, let me try something. Threw the contacts in and went to work. Fairly moderate throwing game. 9 for 16, 113 yards and an interception, but 10 carries for 88 yards, 2 touchdowns. Come on now. If you can't do it in one area, you make up for it in another. Can't argue with that. And guess what? Speaking of running the ball, that boy Rocket Sanders took off. Take off! R.I.P. 19 carries, 143 yards, and 2 touchdowns. South Carolina knew what they was getting in Rocket Sanders, transfer from Arkansas. It's just what he's known for, going off. That boy's gold. The biggest thing I took away from what South Carolina did was that defense. That D-line really proved themselves. Like, I think they ought to prove themselves as the best D-line in the country. And through these past couple of games, I can't argue against it. LSU couldn't do nothing, couldn't gain any offensive momentum. And it was looking bleak for Brian Kelly and them boys early. And penalties were on LSU's side in the beginning. It kept saving them. South Carolina could not get a break. And speaking of penalties, there was some bad calls in that game. It was some bad calls across college football, period. As I realized the day after Sunday, I don't know what these refs got going on, if they spooked by what's going on in the NFL with Tua, and now they're just trying to protect these quarterbacks like crazy. But some of these calls, come on, bro. It's really affecting the outcome of these games. Y'all need to figure something out and chill out, bro. I digress. Like I said, the penalties were saving South Carolina, and yet and still, LSU couldn't really take advantage of those gimme moments. They could have did a lot with it, and they were struggling. But the mark of a great champion is being punched in the mouth, getting your ass knocked on the ground, and getting back up and fighting back harder than you was in the beginning. LSU could have mailed it in going down 17-0. Game over, literally. Not many teams have the capability of coming back from double digits, let alone 17 points. And they did their thing. But before that, it was some sacks. They had a punt block. It was looking bad, but they didn't give up. Marched down, scored a touchdown in the second quarter, recovered a fumble themselves, and kicked the field goal. Now it's 17-10. That's all you can ask for, LSU fans. I know y'all like that. Like to see the fighting your boys. In South Carolina, and that boy Sellers punched him in the mouth, that 75-yard touchdown run. Now they back up 24-10. And that could be demoralizing. As soon as you cut the lead to one digit, and then they score a touchdown on the next drive, you realize you got to maintain, if not push higher, with your grind, your grit. Come on, bro. Is you about it or is you not? LSU was about it. They bounced back after that touchdown, scored another one before the half. Now it's 24-16 at the half. It's almost as if it wasn't even 17-0 to begin with. Now, the injury to South Carolina's quarterback Sellers was huge, and it shook the momentum of their offense because they had to bring in Robbie Ashford, who's played for 17 teams in the SEC. He doesn't quite bring the firepower or the razzle-dazzle that Sellers would bring, and it showed very early. Now that LSU did take advantage of. Then it became a back-and-forth game. At that point, Garrett Nussmeier was starting to get in his bag and showing why he became a starting quarterback at LSU. He went 24 for 40, 285 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. And that ain't bad. And he didn't have to do it on his own. LSU, y'all got y'all one in that backfield. Yeah, that freshman running back. Caden Durham showed up. 11 carries, 98 yards, 2 touchdowns. Come on. What can you ask for? When things ain't going right, it's all about who steps up. And sometimes you need it to be one of the young guys. That's how the young guys prove themselves. When the veterans ain't quite clicking like they're supposed to, and you get the fire from the young guys, come on, bro. I bring life to the whole fan base, team, everything. So shout out to Caden Durham doing his thing. But unlike Caden Durham, y'all knew what y'all got in Kyron Lacey. Already becoming one of the best receivers in the nation. That boy cold. Caught a deep pass to cut it, I think to take the lead late. They reviewed it because they didn't think he had it in bounds, but caught it in bounds, had a foot down with possession of the ball. Fire. One of the other biggest takeaways, like I've already mentioned, was the South Carolina penalties. Literally 3 touchdowns called back from penalties. Huge. That pick 6 in the first half, they had 2 pick 6s. The one in the first half, that would have killed LSU right there. Like 17 is one thing. I think that would have put them up 24-0. Penalty. Brought it back. LSU has life. They figured shit out. But the one in the second half, that was rough. Calling roughing the passer or whatever the hell they pulled when the defender knocked down Nussmeier. That was not a roughing hit. It wasn't. It really wasn't. In that situation after interception, you're no longer a quarterback, so you can't be viewed in that same light. And so when he got hit, it wasn't a blindside hit, it was straight up. Y'all seen the replay? Man, South Carolina fans, I know y'all was sick about that. Hey, don't burn the refs' house down. They got families. The families ain't got nothing to do with that. Just, if you see them in the street, let them know about themselves. But don't keep your head down because you have a great team. And to be honest, it came down to the final seconds. Y'all still had a chance for a walk-off game-winning field goal, and you missed it by... It scraped that field goal post, but LSU escapes with the 3-point win. Both teams are very good, but both teams do have a lot to work on, a lot of flaws, just like every other team, just like my team, like we finna talk about in a second. So I think both teams can walk out with a sense of, or a good list of positives to take from it and a good list of negatives to work on to give yourselves something to grind on during the week to get ready for the next game. So, great game. Shout out to LSU, South Carolina, to see if they bounce back. Can LSU keep it going? Next game's up for both teams. LSU has UCLA. It's done crazy. They didn't already play USC in Vegas. Now they're playing another California school in their house. Who came up with that schedule? South Carolina has Akron. Don't beat them boys up too bad. So, shout out to y'all for just creating another thriller. At the end of the season, this is going to be one of the games you remember. When they talk about the top 10 games of 2024, you can't forget that one. LSU, South Carolina. Remember I said that. Whew. Let's keep this ball rolling. And I really don't want to. Because now we got to talk about something I was very disappointed in Saturday. The Dogs of Georgia escape a scary game with Kentucky, 13-12. Yeah, you heard me right, 13-12. 13-12, Ziggy, like, what is that, bro? Georgia trash, bro. They finna get smashed by Alabama. Slow down, bro. to be fair to my dogs, we've seen this story before. 2022 against Missouri, we was down 16-10 and had to come back to win by, I think, 4 points, 26-22. And then last year at Auburn, we only won by a touchdown pass to Brock Bowers, 27-20. Excuse me. It's something about, like, I believe Kirby Smart now. He always makes a note to say it's hard to play on the road in the SEC. And as much as some people may not want to believe him, it gets proven in moments like this. And outside of just SEC, we be having trouble going to Lexington with Kentucky, bro. I don't know what it is about them. The last 3 scores have been ugly like this. 16-6 2 years ago. I think 2 years before that, it was like 14-9 or something. It's just something about Kentucky, bro. They always have Georgia's number when we go up there. They figure something out. As much as I hate to see it, a part of me likes to see my team struggle just because they need to get put through that. I'm really tired of seeing us like smash through teams because we don't really learn about ourselves. We don't get better. We don't get pushed through the fire enough to really know what we got. So that's something to take from it, Georgia fans. So don't get too down on yourselves. Georgia has another game that was a clunker offensively. It just seemed like we could not get it right. The O-line was dominated in the trenches. We got Kentucky's defensive line looking all worldly. Literally a week after, their defense got shredded by South Carolina. And so everybody thought, based off of that, Georgia was just going to thrax Kentucky. And this is just a prime example that a season of college football ain't nothing but 12 mini seasons. Every week, shout out to Josh Pate. He said it first. Every week is a season within itself, y'all. And it's so true. You can't hold a team to what they did the week before. Especially as Georgia fans, we can't, bro, come on. Georgia cannot think that just because a team plays trash before they play them the week before, that they're not going to get right. Every team looks at us as their Super Bowl, no matter who they are. So they're going to bring it. So I wasn't even mad at that. I wasn't even shocked by that at all, as far as what Kentucky brought. Now, what Georgia brought, I mean, that was ugly. And our O-line wasn't helped by one of our anchors, Tate Ratledge, going down with an apparent knee injury. I think he injured something else as well. I mean, thank God we got this bye week, so him and other injured players have some time to get back, but it's looking rough because it got real rough without him on that O-line. Michael Morris came in as his replacement, but the O-line really got shuffled. Like, that's how big Tate Ratledge's absence is. And Kirby and the boys and the coaches had to really shuffle some things up, and it didn't really help a whole lot. We were still struggling. Kentucky was getting constant pressure against Carson Beck. And speaking of Carson, he didn't really do too well. 15-24, only 160 yards, and that's it. He was, like I said, not getting enough time to find receivers. And even when he did, he was missing them. He had at least 2 plays where he had receivers wide open for touchdowns and missed them. In a game that's tight and ugly and messy like that, you got to hit those plays. That's the difference between the great teams and the okay teams. Because all great teams go through moments like this, but they take advantage even if it's just one play where you get a receiver open or running back can find a cut back and a hole to just skate for 60 yards. They take advantage of it. And Carson, unfortunately, did not. Receivers weren't getting open at first, and even when they did, like I said, Beck missed them. Also, like I said, Kentucky's defense played way better. They became a whole nother team defensively than the one that played against South Carolina. But on the bright side, Georgia's defense did look good, held strong, had constant pressure against Brock Vandagriff, former quarterback of Georgia. I'm sure some Georgia fans, y'all probably thought Vandagriff was going to, tell Kentucky coaching staff, Mark Stoops, about a little bit about Georgia, probably helped them. You probably think that had an effect. Can't tell now. That boy Jalen Walker. Shout out that boy Jalen. What's crazy is he only had 2 tackles in the game, and yet this man was everywhere. all up in the backfield, all in every intermediate passing lanes, shutting down everything. In Brock's face. Talking about, boy, you shouldn't have left. Cornerback Julian Humphrey did his thing. I think he had 2-3 excellent pass breakups that would have went for first downs. That was good to see. Now, back to Carson Beck. He is definitely a great quarterback as far as when it comes to being a sharp processor and being decisive, because his completion percentage is out of this world, record-breaking. But the one thing that's missing with Carson is the deep pass. And I really sat and evaluated that for a good minute that next day, and that is the one glaring thing that's missing from him. He doesn't have that willing to let go of his, or increase his risk parameters and be willing to throw that deep ball when he knows it's there. Even if it's just a 50% chance, he does not go for it. He only goes for 75 and above, and it's time for him to go for them 60, sometimes 50%. Because I feel like the great quarterbacks do it. Quinn Ewers, great with the deep ball. Jalen Milroe, great with the deep ball. Even, what's his name, Miami is starting to show himself with that. So Carson, even after, it's going on in his second season. We still haven't seen it as a Georgia fan base. And y'all know what I'm talking about, Georgia fans. We haven't really seen Carson be consistent at all with his deep ball passing accuracy or his deep ball passing willingness. And I think some of that does fall on offensive coordinator Mike Bobo. And I've been hearing a lot of this talk about Georgia fans being upset with Mike Bobo, and he's to blame for the offense struggling Saturday. Like, guys, are y'all for real? Really though? Mike Bobo was the offensive coordinator during one of Georgia's greatest offensive seasons of all time. Did the words Aaron and Murray ring any bells? Did y'all forget Mike Bobo was his offensive coordinator? Come on now. It's not just going to be seamless when he comes back. This is a whole different team. He has to figure things out. He has to work with the pieces that he has. So, trust me, it's not him. But guess what? At the end of the day, all of this is good. I'm telling you, Kirby loves it. He loves when we struggle like this because now he has something to work on. Now he has something to chip away at complacency, chip away at some of these Georgia players' egos and let them know. Oh, and then the AP dropped us from number 1 to number 2. Yes. We needed it. Nigga, I'd rather be number 3, number 4. Put Bama ahead of us right before we played them, just to add some juice to it for that game. But that's just what we needed. Winning a close game, ugly game like this, and having a laundry list of things to work on, Georgia's working them boys to death. Like right now, as we speak. This player's throwing up right now, vomiting their guts out. The running game for Georgia couldn't get anything done. Like I said, the offensive line wasn't creating enough time for Carson to pass. They also weren't creating no running lanes for the running backs. They couldn't really do much. Ball security was becoming an issue. And there was a big moment in the second half where we fumbled the ball, and had we not recovered it, the game would have changed. I guarantee it. Kentucky was still in a position to possibly make something happen on a 4th down in the 4th quarter, and they decided to punt instead of going for it. Now, I'm no football coach, but thank you for making that decision, because that's all we really needed to just go ahead and end the game. We're going to figure something out with them last, 60 seconds. So that basically ended the game right there. And Kentucky has some things to figure out, but Georgia has a lot to figure out. Hey, Georgia fans, we got some work to do. Fortunately, we have a bye week that we're in right now to work on those things and prepare ourselves for this monumental clash in Tuscaloosa with Alabama next week. And when I say monumental, I meant that. Capital M, capital everything. We got injured players that need to come back. We have some identity issues that need to be addressed as far as what we're capable of doing across the board. And we still got to make sure the defense is on point. So I think we're going to figure things out. I think I need to ease up on Mike Bobo and Kirby Smart. He does his best work when complacency is dropped because we play ugly. So Georgia fans, we need to be happy for this. We need to be happy that our ranking got dropped. We got a lot to do and a lot of motivation to get ready for this game. That's just what we need. So, like I said, Georgia's next game after this bye week, Bama, primetime, ABC. I'm pretty sure game day is going to be there, and I'm pretty sure Kirk and Chris is going to be on the call. It's huge. So I hope y'all ready. I'm ready. Kentucky's next game is against Ohio. That's going to be a monumental game. What's crazy is that's only one of Georgia's 4 insane games against top 10 teams this season. But I ain't mad at it. Bring it. Next up, the Missouri Tigers come back against the Boston College Eagles and pull it out 27-21. And comeback was big. They were down 14-3, and it just seemed like Boston College had their number early. Had them boys against the rope in their house. Unranked Boston College against what? Number 6 at the time, Missouri. Boston College QB Thomas Castellanos going for 16 for 28, 249 yards and 3 touchdowns. That boy's a gamer. And if y'all ain't heard of him or seen him play, y'all better check out Boston College for the rest of the season because that boy fire. Now, he did throw 2 interceptions. And to be honest with you, those 2 interceptions probably made the difference in that game. But like I said, he's a gamer. Prime example is when he lost the ball on a bad snap, picks it up, and proceeds to throw a 57-yard touchdown to Reed Harris like it's nothing. Had Missouri fans looking around like, what the hell going on, bro? But after Missouri does go down 14-3, Brady Cook goes to work, the quarterback for Missouri. Brady let him cook. He goes for 21 for 30, 264 yards and a touchdown. The great teams do it. They get right when you need it. Speaking of getting right, at that point, Luther Burden, wide receiver, decided to wake up. 6 catches, 170 yards and a touchdown. Luther Burden is legit. If y'all don't know, you better know. You better tap in. One of the best receivers in the nation. But like I already said, Castellanos' 2 interceptions is really what hurt them in that game. I think Missouri scored on both of those drives off those interceptions. And then Missouri's defense did just enough at the end to seal the victory. So, although it could have been an upset, Missouri did what they needed, pulled out the W, and they just keep marching. Which is crazy because Missouri, when you look at their schedule, they ain't really got a whole lot to be worried about on there. So if they can maintain this, they could possibly have a path to Atlanta in the SEC Championship. So we'll see. Boston College, I think they're in a slightly after the beginning of a rebuild stage. So I don't think they should beat themselves up after a loss like this. That's a great Missouri team, and you almost had them. So great game. Next game's coming up for Missouri. They enter SEC play against Vanderbilt. Boston College plays Michigan State. Maybe that's an interesting game. Who knows? We'll see. We're going to keep this show rolling right on along. Next game up, Bama rolls past Wisconsin, 42-10. Now, there was a lot of talk about Bama's never been up to Big Ten country, or they haven't been in a while. This could be a slip-up spot. But that was a reach. Because to be honest, Wisconsin's 2 games before this, they struggled against teams that they should have beat handily. And they got exposed immediately. And although they did come out fighting in the beginning, it did not help that Wisconsin's quarterback, Tyler Van Dyke, went out with an injury. And that was basically the game right there. Because that was all their hopes in him. They had all the chips pushed to that side of the table with the transfer. This is what he left Miami for, and it just sucks to see another injury. I know injuries are part of the game, but they're the worst. Just hate to see it. So we pray for a speedy recovery for him. But Bama did what Bama was always going to do. Now, they definitely resolved some issues from the previous week against USF. Definitely fixed some O-line issues. They got back healthy. I think they got Caden Proctor back. But the protection was there for Jalen Miro to do his thing. He goes 12 for 17, 196 and 3 touchdowns. And also ran for 2 touchdowns and 75 yards. So this man is continuing this streak of multiple passing, multiple rushing touchdowns in the same game. So I ain't mad at it. I think his name is starting to go up on that Heisman list. The Heisman watch for sure. But like I said, O-line intact. Bama's defense is now playing well. And one of their biggest moments was when they stopped Wisconsin on the 4th down try. Not even sure why they were going for it in that situation to begin with, but you got to do what you got to do when things start to look bleak. And so they went for it, and it didn't work out for them. One of the biggest things that probably sealed the game for Wisconsin was the drastic difference in QB play. The backup for Tyler Van Dyke, Locke, had a play where he tried to catch a receiver who broke past 2 Bama defenders in the end zone, and the pass was just a touch too far. And had he caught that and scored that touchdown, he would have cut the lead to, I think, 10 points, maybe even single digits. And that was the difference. Because Milroe was in that same situation, almost further to one side of the field, throwing across the field into one corner of their end zone, and hits Jeremy Bernard for a touchdown right against the sideline. And there you go. Both QBs almost in similar situations, and one of them has better touch on their pass than the other. Boom. We know how it ends. So Bama took care of business, did their thing. Wisconsin still has a lot of work to do. And that was good for Bama as they go into a bye week as well to get prepared for the Georgia game in 2 weeks. So that game is going to be interesting. Trust me, I'm going to do a game breakdown for that one. Got a lot to talk about, historically and futurely. I just made up that word, Ash. So that's Bama's next game after this bye week against Georgia. And Wisconsin also has a bye week before they play USC. So after you go back and lick your wounds against Bama, at least you get an extra spare week to get ready to play an enthusiastic, rejuvenated USC team with a defense. It took long enough, but now we get to say USC has a defense, y'all. That's all they needed all this time. We're going to see if they maintain it, too. Let me get something to drink. Next game up, Oklahoma takes care of the Tulane Green Wave, 34-19. And as soon as it came out heavy, they went up 21-0 like it's nothing. Jackson Arnold was out there doing his thing, and it just seems like his QB play is getting better each and every week. Went 18 for 29, 169, and a touchdown with the interception, but 14 carries, 97 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He is a dual threat, let it be known. And he's going to make do with it. And that Oklahoma defense under, I'm drawing a blank on the coach name. I know who I'm talking about. Defensive-minded head coach. His identity is starting to be shown. The defense is starting to get more nasty, more aggressive, more mentally calibrated in the right way to where they understand what he wants to do and they're making it happen on the field. Now, the second half did get a little tighter. The defense started slipping up and Oklahoma's offense started getting stagnant and Tulane was taking advantage. They scored 13 points. And then in the fourth quarter, Jackson Arnold throws a pick 6 and the lead is cut down to 24-19 out of nowhere. But then, like good teams supposed to do, they woke up, got right, and did their thing, especially the defense. The defense was led by that boy Danny Stutzman. I think he had 11 tackles that game. Yeah, Sooner fans, y'all got y'all one in that boy for sure. So, held onto the ball at the end, scored again, and did what they're supposed to. So, that's huge for Oklahoma as they get prepared for a huge game coming up this Saturday. Game of the week by far, prime time, as they welcome the Tennessee Volunteers to town. And that's going to be a good game. Best believe I'm doing a breakdown on that. You got Josh Heupel coming back to Norman. He's one of the most legendary players in Oklahoma history. And now he's coming back to face his alma mater. Oh, it's going to be a big one. And Tennessee got a fire offense. So that's Oklahoma's next game against Tennessee, and Tulane's next game is against Louisiana. All right, now we got a last few little quick hits to go over a couple more games. Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers gets injured. And as much as we hate to see that, I think it was an abdominal strain. We pray for a speedy recovery for him. That boy Arch Manning stepped in, filled them shoes with a quickness, and he dominated. This man went 9 for 12 for 223 yards and 4 touchdowns. Ran for a 60-yard touchdown. Something Eli and Peyton ain't never did in their life, boy. Now, it was against UTSA, but you can only play the opponents that's on your schedule. And Arch did his thing. Now, we're still waiting to see the injury progression for Ewers. And will he be available for this upcoming game? But it looks like Texas has 2 starting quarterbacks in the QB room. And they're good with either one, which is a great thing for Steve Sarkisian to have, with his offensive prowess. Miami and Tennessee both dropped 60-plus points again in shutout fashion. That means the other team didn't score nothing. So both defenses did their thing. Defenses did their equivalent of scoring 60 points themselves. Of course, against inferior competition, but up to this point, Miami and Tennessee are on fire, looking to prove themselves to be at the top of their respective leagues, and they're on the right path. Let's see if they can keep that going. Pitt wins the backyard brawl against West Virginia in instant classic fashion, 38-34. I think this game kind of went under the radar on Saturday, but that was a crazy game. Literally went down to the wire as Pitt scored a touchdown late in the fourth quarter with about 30 seconds left. Cinema. You gotta love it. Oregon finally looks like their projected preseason selves as they destroy their rivals at Oregon State 49-14. Damn, Oregon took y'all long enough. This is what we was looking for this whole time. Glad to see y'all decided to enter the chat. You know, woke up. That boy Dylan Gabriel did his thing. Completion percentage is definitely A1. It hasn't fallen off. A little less dink and dunk and more going down the field. He had a long touchdown run where he went crazy celebrating after that. And Oregon's defense stepped up in a major way. I think they just needed an opponent that they really didn't like, or they felt like it was a challenge. See, Oregon, I'm starting to think y'all having some dog-itis. Y'all dealing with some stuff Georgia be dealing with. Don't know how to get right until the right opponent comes on your schedule. Hey, as long as you get the dub. But I'm going to need y'all to stay at this level as the season progresses. Because Oregon, y'all trying to prove yourselves in the Big Ten now. And until further notice, it's looking like it's going to be Ohio State's year. Freshman QB Marcel and Texas A&M take care of Florida like it's nothing. 33-20. Sad. Sad times in Florida, y'all. There's only 3 games in, and this is already the second game of the season where Florida got manhandled in the swamp. Get him out of there, coach. It is over for Billy Napier. It's only a matter of time. And as a Georgia fan, I love to see Florida struggle, but As a football fan, I mean, that's just ugly, bro. Just Florida, just do what y'all got to do. If you got to go bankrupt to pay this man's buyout, do it. Worry about who the next coach gonna be later. Bro. It's just getting bad, and it's only gonna get worse. The season ain't even really started yet, or at least the rough part of it. Texas A&M had over 300 rushing yards. The end. Don't even say nothing else. So shout out to Texas A&M for getting that dub. Let's see if they can bounce back. Is Marcel a better QB for them than what's his name? He's yet to be seen. And speaking of them Sunshine State woes, Mike Norvell loses to his former team, Memphis. Memphis, mine. Hey, mine. Lose to Memphis 20-12. Again, the Noles have me at a loss for words. DJU continues to look anemic. This offense is just putrid. I'm trying to think of all the most elaborate synonyms I can come up with, but there's literally nothing to break down here. Florida State is continuing to look trash and doing everything possible to lose a game. To not look nothing remotely close to a decent football team. You don't even look decent. You just started the season 0-3. For them, it's not a situation where I say they need to get rid of the coach, but Mike Norvell, your seat is getting warm. It's getting warm. Because Florida State fans, they're not going for it. So, yes, kind of ended on a sour note, but it's cool because we got a new week of college football, a new week of breakdowns is on the way, and there's more coming for you with CLB with Ziggy. And like I said, I'm going to get my schedule right. I'm going to do some more breakdowns. I'm going to add a little more to the channel, a little more videos. I got a lot of other things going on with some business ventures, so it kind of takes my time away from this, but trust and believe, I ain't going nowhere. So stay tuned, stay locked in, subscribe, comment, like, share with your people. Because my channel's going to blow up with or without you. But I love you, though. Just know, this is your new favorite college football channel. And this has been CLB with Ziggy, week 3. We out. Yeah.